It's the LinkedIn for the Win podcast, and today we're talking LinkedIn profiles part 2. It's winter time. Let's go. Welcome to the LinkedIn for the Win podcast. I am Brett Scott at your service. Today we're going to be talking about your LinkedIn profile again, and especially the experience portion of your profile. This is really the meat of your profile. So I want to take some time and go through it thoroughly so that it can be the best it can be for people who are searching for people like you. The one thing that you have to realize is that your profile is really like your online resume. So we have a resume that's kind of our paper. That's the kind of the old way of doing things, still relevant today. But really, if somebody wants to find you or find out some information about you, they're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that it matches your resume, because employers will check and they will notice when you apply for jobs, or if you've sent somebody your resume because you're interested in a particular position or going to be referred for a position. So keep that in mind. Make sure they match so there's no questions about your integrity. Unless it's a situation where, like mine, I have some work I've done with some of my friends' businesses. I have my own consulting company. I don't necessarily have that on my resume, but it's not corporate. So there are some exceptions, but if they're corporate, if they're jobs, if they're not something that you're doing in terms of your own business as an entrepreneur, you're certainly welcome to put those things on there, but it's not required. It won't get a ding from a recruiter or a hiring manager because it's not there, okay? One of the main things that you have to make sure that you're doing is that you're linking your job to your company's profile page. So when you go into the experience section and you've got your position, your title, all that good stuff, right? Make sure that there's a picture there linking your profile to that particular company. So if you have a little gray box with like a building in it, that's not what's popping. So you got to make sure that you have a picture there with the logo of the company that you work or worked for previously. Okay, that's important, because what's going to happen is somebody's going to maybe search for a competitor, some people that work for a competitor that will have similar skills to the folks that work for them that they'd be looking for to bring on. So they're kind of scoping out so they can poach somebody from a competitor. Well, this allows you to be found in that company's profile. The other thing is that you may want to be found by somebody within your organization that may want to connect with you. So that can be very important. So make sure all of your jobs have a picture of the logo of the company that you work for. Now, are there some companies out there that don't have profiles? I'm sure there are, but if that's the case, then that's not your fault. But make sure that you have that picture there. It's important. If you have a job title that doesn't give you information on all that you do in that role, use a slash, a backslash, to put maybe an alternate title that will include that description or that information in terms of what you do. So let's say if you're a marketing manager or a recruiter, but you also do social media for the company, maybe you put a social media title, you'd put marketing manager / social media coordinator. Does that make sense? So we want to make sure that even though it's in we're going to talk about the meat of the description of a role, but if it's not evident in the title, when somebody searches for you, that's going to be a great, key word for you to have in there, because you have actually had some of those duties and done some of those things. Okay, now when it comes to our descriptions of our experience in our jobs, there's a couple of different schools of thought. One of them is just a paste your resume. It's really the easiest way, not typically recommended by a lot of people. One of the reasons is that they feel like recruiters are not looking to read your full resume online. Okay, they're looking to do a search and look for what you do at a high level. So they want to get in the weeds. And if their interest is piqued, then they'll reach out to you. Now, I kind of subscribe to going ahead and paste your resume. They're going to scan it anyway. The key is to have the keywords. If you have a lot of information, they're just going to scan it like they will your resume anyway. So I typically do not subscribe to that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Everybody has their own opinions on how they suggest that you work LinkedIn. This is my way. One of the big things that we're going to talk about, and I said it at the beginning, is keywords. So let's really get into that right now. So I talked about this in a previous podcast, going into the job postings on LinkedIn and searching anywhere in the United States, doesn't matter. We just want to figure out what are some great keywords that we can include. So essentially, what keywords are the recruiters going to use to search? What I did was I just looked up a couple of positions in sales, and I like to use sales a lot because I used to be a sales recruiter and I kind of know that area, so I can really give you some good insight on that. However, if you're interested in contacting me, I can help you work through that in your particular industry. But let's just go to sales right now. So I just looked up outside sales on LinkedIn. And then I found three particular positions. One is with Phillips Manufacturing, and they're a construction sales position. And then I looked at ABC Supply, which is also construction, and then Cox Communication, which is a cable telecom company. So really the keywords that I pulled out, and just to go through Phillips, I'm not going to go through the whole job description, but it talks about developing, maintaining relationships, gives you a region, talks about travel, really sales, prospecting. The ones that I pulled out were closing or close, strategy, and demonstrations. On the ABC Supply posting, I found customer relationships, sales, cold calls, and customer. The keywords for Cox Communications, this one is a little bit more door to door, and they talked about really being a hunter, competitive, entrepreneurial, relationships, and also customer satisfaction. So really, it looks like the Phillips position was more sales and less customer relationship building, at least in terms of the posting. Now, if that's not true, then maybe their posting could be improved, but we can only go by what they've posted or what they put out there. So really the themes from the three, and these are only three, and you can do as many as you want. I pulled out sales, prospecting or cold calls, same thing, customer relationships, and customer satisfaction. If you are an outside sales rep or looking to be an outside sales rep, you want to definitely include those words. Now, there's some other words that you should include as well. I mean, I would probably include all of these if you have the experience. You may want to think back to maybe some other roles that you had outside of sales where you could pull out those words, or like we discussed in the previous podcast, put those in your summary, in your keywords there. That's another opportunity to do that, or double up. You know what I mean? So have it also in your experience and then put it also in your summary. So that makes it a little bit stronger. So also keep in mind that I looked at jobs that were in two different fields. So one was construction and the other cable. If you're looking for a particular industry that you want to work for, you want to make sure that those jobs are in that particular field. So for instance, in this case, this is a sales role. If you want to work in telecom, then you want to look up cable or telecom companies, Cox, Time Warner, Spectrum, Comcast, AT&T, those types of companies. So those will give you industry specific keywords and it'll be a little bit more relevant to your search. As a hack, what you could do is cut and paste your job description into a Word cloud application like Wordly.net. It's spelled WORDLE.net. It's a cool website. It'll identify keywords for you, acronyms even. I haven't used it personally on my site because I just kind of found it recently, but it's really cool. It's a really good way if you're not really sure about the industry or the position that you're applying or looking to apply to. This is a great way to pull out a lot of those words that you would want to include on not only your profile, but now we're also talking about your resume. So these are also keywords that you should have on your resume, because as we talked about in the applicant tracking systems in a previous podcast, the ATS, it will weed you out if you do not have certain keywords that it's looking for. Okay. Now, there's also another feature that you want to take advantage of, and that's kind of the media feature. So you can upload any media that would be for maybe a position that you work for now or in the past, something that you would be proud of. So let's say it's a presentation or maybe a logo if you're like a graphic artist, some type of video if you're a speaker of some sort, if you've done conferences or corporate training, those types of things. Include those on your profile in the appropriate, for the appropriate position, of course. And that's an awesome way to help reinforce your personal brand and give folks an idea of what you've done. So that's really the nuts and bolts of the experience section. If you guys have any additional questions, or you just want to get some additional help, or you want me to cover something else, give me a holler. You can reach me at LinkedIn, Brett Scott MBA, or you can hit me up at LinkedIn FTW podcast at gmail.com. I know it's long. Don't talk about me. Shh. The next section is education. This one's pretty simple. Just make sure that you have your degree. Again, make sure that you have the logo of your school, your alma mater on your profile. Same reasons as before with your job, right? You want to make sure that you can be found if people are looking for you, and especially when you're applying to jobs, because it'll tell you how many fellow alumnus you have within that particular organization. Okay. I would also recommend that you do not put your year that you graduated on here, because you don't want to be a victim of ageism or something like that. So I tend to tell people to leave that information off of their resume, because it's easy for somebody to be able to tell how old you are. Even though they can see your picture, they don't know how old you are. So don't give them a reason to not reach out to you, even if it's subconscious. I even have my high school on here. I have no idea why, but for some reason, I just never took it off. And I found a couple of people who have my high school, but it's a silly gray box with a little building on it. So it really serves no purpose, but whatever. Now, this next section, featured skills and endorsements, that's pretty important as well, because it really plays into our keywords theme of today. So there's some keywords that we've found in our search for, the construction sales and the outside sales roles, right? Those are the same words that we should have in our featured skills and endorsements. So whatever the keywords are for your industry and your particular role, those should be included here in the featured skills and endorsements. Your friends and coworkers and connections will go through and endorse you. Actually, outside of the keywords portion, I really don't know the point of this, but as a recruiter, I really don't care. When I'm searching, those are going to help me find you, because you have those keywords on your profile. Now that takes us to recommendations. Now, recommendations can be made by somebody who you've previously worked with or worked for, or done some type of business with that will contribute to your personal brand. So I have a couple of people on mine who have worked with me in a job search strategist capacity. So I help them to find new jobs, or just have those tools so they can improve their chances of getting that interview or getting that job, right? So I also have some from some coworkers as well. So you should have at least 3 recommendations. You can get them from, like I said, colleagues, managers, clients, mentors even. Some people have vendors. So it's just people that you've kind of worked with, and make sure that it goes with your personal brand to help enhance that. If you want to have it be a reciprocal thing, so they recommend you, you recommend them, a great way to network with some of the people that you've connected with and maybe haven't reached out to in a while. The next 2 sections are kind of afterthoughts for me. They're your accomplishments, and then the interest section, which is basically, in the interest section, it's groups that you're following and that you're in, or sometimes it could be people that you're following as well. Anyway, that's basically your LinkedIn profile. If all you have on your profile is just your jobs, then you need to go back, get your resume, copy and paste ASAP, not BSAP. So at least have those words in there, something in there, and then go back and tweak it. Start adding those keywords in, right? Because that is the key. No pun intended. It's real. Okay. It's real out here. You got to have keywords, please. Don't make me beg. Okay. I'm trying to help you out here. So again, guys, the keys here are to make sure that you have the right words on your profile so that you can be searched. It looks professional. You have some great media that's attached that helps enhance your personal brand. You're going to have a great value statement as your headline and a professional profile picture. Okay. Those are really the elements for a successful, awesome, and winning profile. This has been the LinkedIn for the Win podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening and subscribing. Let's keep winning.